Good morning, everybody. This is the Environmental and Community Services Committee. It's the 9th of September. This meeting will be audio recorded and those in attendance should refrain from making any defamatory statements. There are to be no other recordings of the meeting without the prior authorisation of the committee. So, Director of Environmental and Community Services, are there any applications for attending meeting via video link?
Neil received, Madam Chair.
Apologies.
Neil.
Disclosures of interest.
Neil received.
Public participation.
Neil.
Site inspections.
No site inspections.
Just as well we have business items. Okay, so the first one is going to be ECSC 0.09.1 DA 60 2025 machinery shed 996 Gundy Road. Sejun Ho, would you like to speak to that, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is a proposal for a machinery shed on Gundy Road. The reason it's come before the committee is because the proposal doesn't comply with the front setback of 50 metres prescribed by the Upper Hunter DCP. The proposed setback is 9.5 metres from Gundy Road. And as I said, the prescribed setback is 50 metres. In this case, we consider the non-compliance to be acceptable given the irregular shape of the lot and the limitations posed by potential koala habitat on the site. So the location is probably the most appropriate location on the site. Therefore, we're recommending approval of the application subject to conditions of consent.
Okay, thank you. Anyone got any questions or comments?
I'd move it and then speak to moving it if you like.
Yep, shall we move it?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor McGill, seconded by Councillor Clout. So we'd like to speak to that.
Yes, please, thanks. Just it's probably about the fourth or fifth time in our term so far where we've had a setback issue. Previously, I thought the policy is the policy, but I think the flexibility actually works in everyone's interest. It does allow these sorts of scenarios where we can actually get it happening. I note that they're not proposing to change the entrance, so they'll still be coming off Gundy Road the same way they always have. They're not going to put a separate entrance in for the shed. The other thing I note is the koala trees and the screening trees. The screening trees seem to be all on council's land. They're outside of their property. Similarly, the koala trees are all on their land. There's no actual screening proposed to go actually on their land for the shed. I'm wondering whether there should be a requirement that they do maintain in good health those koala trees. Otherwise, what was the point of bringing it to our attention if we're not going to look after them? So other than that, I would support it.
Councillor Clapp, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, it seems like the point of bringing the potential koala trees in was just because where they're positioning the shed doesn't impact on them. So it's a good spot. If they didn't mention the koala trees, they could just knock them down and put the shed there.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying we want to make sure that they maintain the health of those trees.
And it's also not, the neighbours are quite far away, so there's no encroachment there. And I think it's, considering where it is, I think there shouldn't be any issues. Are we happy to vote on that? So all in favour? So the ayes have it, all four. Thank you. So the second is ECSC 09.2, and it is another shed day today, Graham Street, Aberdeen. Would you like to speak to that, sir?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So this application again is before the committee due to a non-compliance with the front setback requirement under the Upper Hunter DCP. The shed is proposed to be located 2.4 metres from the front boundary, whereas the required setback is 5.5 metres. In this case, the variance is acceptable because the location doesn't detract from the built form of the neighbourhood. It's a reasonable distance from the road carriageway and takes into account the topographical constraints of the site. It's also noted that the adjoining lots have buildings that are quite close to the front boundaries as well. I think one building is about 0.5 metre from the front boundary. So this proposal is consistent with the, I guess, other buildings in the street. If you have a look at the image on page, for the plan on page 36 of the agenda, you can see that the proposed shed is a considerable distance from the actual road carriageway. So when you're on site, it looks like it's quite a generous setback from the front boundary. It's just where the boundary is located in relation to the road. So we're recommending approval of the application, subject to conditions of consent.
Thank you. I think also that's a very important point when it's in alignment with the rest of the street. It's not a major encroachment. Yeah. Anyone like to move? No. Thank you, Councillor Clout. Councillor McGill, were you seconding that? Would you like to speak to it? Councillor Clout first as the mover. Off you go, sir.
Setback number 6, familiar theme. I actually reading that plan on 36, the bulk of the shed is actually 5.7 metres back. It's only actually where they impinge upon the setback distance, it's actually the carport part of the shed. So that's a bit that doesn't comply, basically. If they didn't do this carport, then the whole thing would be compliant, as far as I can tell. The other question has to be asked, do they intend to remove the existing carport as a result of building this? And it's big. It's almost 3 40-foot shipping containers. So it's a bulky building in a suburban location. That'd be the questions I'd be asking. Is this too big? Could it be compliant if it didn't have the carport? And what's happening with the old carport?
Through you, Madam Chair, I guess the building is fairly similar to other sheds in that area, in the neighbourhood. These sort of size sheds are quite common. You're correct, the non-compliance with the setback is due to the carport at the front of the shed. However, we're calling this one structure. So, but the fact that the shed is a considerable distance from the road carriageway, it actually looks like it's set back sufficiently from the road. And you're also correct, it's only a small portion of this structure that's within the setback area. The existing carport, I understand, is proposed to stay. That's not part of this demolition of that carport. It's not part of this application.
Okay. So shall we vote? Anyone got any further questions? Okay, so all in favour? The ayes have it. Thank you. Our last point is for ECSC 0.9.3, and it is the draft Upper Hunter Flying Fox Camp Management Plan. I'm not sure if anyone would like to speak to that today. I don't know. Councillor McGill may, I don't know. Would you like to speak to it first, Mr. Pringle?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So this is basically a result of a review and update of our existing camp management plans. We've consolidated 2 separate plans into one. So as you would be aware, we had a camp management plan for Aberdeen and Scone, and there was also a camp management plan for Murrurundi as well. So we're combining these because they have consistent, I guess, information and themes throughout. The objectives of the draft camp management plan are to better understand the effects on local residents and mitigate those direct negative impacts on the residents, to educate and better inform local communities about the importance and benefits of flying foxes, and also to conserve and protect, as required by the law, flying foxes and their habitat. So they're the 3 key objectives of this camp management plan. We're putting it before the committee to endorse for the purpose of placing on public exhibition for 28 days. When that period concludes, we'll bring a report back to the committee to consider any submissions that are made. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a mover first. Thank you. Councillor McGill, second. Would you like to be part? Thank you, Councillor Stoltz. Anyone like to speak to this point?
If I
Councillor
indulge myself, I'll do the easy stuff first. Page 16, there's a typo. Page 48, there's a reference that hasn't worked. And the document talks about flying foxes and then suddenly talks about bats. They're flying foxes. We should remove all reference to the word bats. It's maybe the colloquial, but it's not the actual real term for them. One thing that this document does do is really put in a sharp focus the commonalities between the 3 camps. Watercourse, degraded environment along the riverbank so that there's no habitat left. The big consistency is my weeds issue again, the railways, the roads, the rivers, all state government responsibilities, all Crown land, and they don't look after it, and we're left with the consequences of that neglect. The other consistent thing across the 3 sites, weeds, Aberdeen is the willow trees, liquid embers and Scone, broadleaf privet up in Murrurundi. Scone, that little breakout camp, is unusual. It came away from the watercourse. Other than that, everything's consistent. One of our concerns right now in Murrurundi is that this is birthing season. The fact that they've come back to give birth means that they love the environment and they're probably going to stay here. This is going to be an ongoing permanent issue if we're not careful. Another reflection on the document, some of the maps aren't that crisp. They didn't make good reading. The other thing too, that a lot of these bats, flying foxes, got myself doing it, they do love orchards. We don't have any orchards up here, so basically it would appear they're either eating weed species or native species. They're certainly not going in and decimated peaches. The buffer zones that they're talking about, they're huge. That's a big project. They're like 10K buffer zones. That's all of Murrurundi becomes a buffer zone. It's quite strange. One thing that does get very little, if any, mention there is flyover. We're certainly talking about the camps and the impact on people who live adjacent to the camps. The whole of Murrurundi is now a feces camp. They fly over everybody on the way out to get their feed, and as a result are leaving a mess all over town. That's not really addressed in here, and possibly is something that could be strengthened. Other than that, thank you to Matt and your crew for getting this done. It's a long way to go from here, but this is a good working document. And we really go back to my resolution of the other week. The other levels of government have to come to the party and work with us. This needs a solution. Otherwise, the people, particularly in Murrurundi, they're all going to go batshit crazy. Flying fox crazy. But yes, you get my point anyway. It is becoming an issue up there for town, and those people who are living right next to it, they are suffering it more than you can imagine. I went to the bowling club the other night and wondered what that smell was. It's pervasive, absolutely pervasive. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McGill. I think we did already write, didn't we, to the relative bodies about this?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have sent a letter, I understand, to the relevant government agencies. We've also had discussions with LLS and DQ as well, and we have a meeting coming up with them up at Murrurundi in the coming weeks to come up with a strategy and to look at things like how we can improve habitat and restore habitat in other areas, and hopefully to encourage the flying foxes to move to other areas where they'll have less impact on the community. So, and also looking at things like weed removal and so on.
We may get all your three bodies on the banks after all. There you go. Thank you so much.
I just will add one thing too, that last time Upper Hunter County Council worked with the community and council to clear Liverpool Terrace, and that's brilliant now. The locals are starting to replant significant trees in there, and it hasn't been impacted by the flying foxes this time.
Thank you. Okay, so we vote on that. So all in favour? Thank you. We're all in favour of that. And that concludes our meeting at 10:43. Thank you for coming in today. Have a good day.